Hey everybody, welcome back to Hack in the Dark, where we play actual play Forged in the Dark games. Forged in the Dark are games based off of Blades in the Dark by John Harper. We're playing Deathwish by Ian Hart today. Ian, where did we leave off?
Last session, the crew returned to Crimson Bay to save the town from a Kraken threat and to expand their alliance with the Fey court by securing a safer supply of Lethian ink. In today's session, they'll be taking on the final Baron, the last obstacle before they can take out the King and clear this front. And that Baron is going to be represented not directly by a foe that needs to be slain, but an alliance of sorts that needs to be renewed. The town has had a long relationship with a goblin settlement on Earth, and the elite forces of those goblins, you should be able to call on them to come join you for the king fight. So your mission today is to go out and contact them. Normally, you would just send a message via telegram, but for some reason, their telegram lines are down.
Hmm.
So today you'll be venturing into a fire swamp, which is one of the locations that exists in the Deathwish world. It's a world where the element of mutagen bubbles up from the ground, and mutagen is flammable. So you will have jets of flame occasionally bursting out of the ground here and there. And mutagen itself is a dangerous gas. The first time that you come in contact with it in your life, it will transform you into a new form that better suits what you think of as your true purpose in life.
Mm.
Isn't that, who wouldn't want that? Isn't that like a real...
It can have pros and cons. Yeah, it does not bear in mind your standard of living or anything else like that. And if it has to give you any supernatural abilities to work, then it will burn itself out as you use it, and you will have to take more mutagen to keep yourself alive. And it'll slowly replace your body with another element called bug blood, which is bad.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. So
This is what Grigsby has totally done in the past, and this is why he's a golem, right?
it's not
That
impossible.
Makes sense to me. Why am I being punished? Wait, does Irma know the goblins?
I'd say that's up to Irma. They've certainly known this town for a long time, so there being some relation between the two would make sense.
It's run by one of my cousins. Who cares? He just married in. It's fine.
And so the first question is, how are you going to get there? It's swampy terrain, but there is a road, so you should be able to take any kind of vehicle you want.
Right? We don't specifically anticipate. We don't know of bandits on the road or anything like that.
Right. I mean, bandits happen, but
This is Deathwish after all.
yes. Yeah, ever since the Empire started drawing back, banditry has been on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not an everyday occurrence.
Well, I am perfectly okay with taking my usual means of transport, my horse Gus. How do we feel about bringing? We had established Elise as an ally or a friend last time. Would it make sense to establish her as sort of one of our merry band?
Yeah, if anybody has a special box to spare, anyone could check off a special box to bring a companion with them, which is any sort of NPC that you want to bring along to help you out.
Okay, I thought she was pretty useful. Anybody have a problem with my checking a special box for that purpose? that okay?
What do you think about going from above, like flying?
Flying how?
The aeronaut can check a special box to have their own private airship. If anybody's an aeronaut.
I am not.
Irma. But that would be instead of bringing a beetle.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're on mute.
Me, the crew. Me, the crew.
Well, that would be for Grigsby to have that conversation with Irma about, I would say.
I mean, do you really want to go to a swamp that instead of water has fire?
Oh, it has water too.
Water and fire coming out
You
of
want
it?
me to pack my bikini now? Is that what this is? You think you're taking me on vacation?
I'm just saying you're supposed to be an airship pilot of some sort, and
I'm supposed to be an air pilot.
We've
an air
we've
pilot.
taken my car
What
at
about
least
you?
2 times.
Why do I have to do everything for you? All the time.
This is a fire.
Save your
it's
life
fire.
this time.
Fuck.
Save your life that time. Let me guess.
He's
You
never
don't
gonna let
remember
it
the
go.
last time.
Never gonna let it go. Have your life saved one time, and
No, I think it's like up to 3, and I think you've just been writing it all in your diary, so you can forget about it.
might be true. I don't remember.
Speaking of last time, what veteran abilities did everybody take?
So I took not yet. When you die, you can pay 2 stress or morale to take 1 last action, ignoring harm penalties. You can't prevent your death in this way. And I also swapped out dashing back for signature flame, since we're going to a fire swamp.
Fun.
I took Reckless, which lets me once per mission push for effect and push for dice on a Deathwish action for free. I tend to try to avoid Deathwish actions, but you never know.
And that's a trauma, right?
That is a trauma, yeah.
Irma went ahead and took a substance abuser by spending 1 of King's Conscience while exhausted. You gain 1 morale each time an ally, not myself, takes harm for the rest of the mission.
Yep, that's
Grigsby.
an alchemy that normally causes you to feel empathy, super strong empathy with others. So when they get hurt, you get hurt too. But if you have a abusive relationship with the drug, it can get inverted, and instead, when your close allies get hurt, it makes you feel better.
Irma's been feeling great the last few sessions.
Look how happy she is to get that awful ability. She's like, yes, it's gonna be great.
Okay. Sure. I'll leave my beetle behind and take the airship, but you'll be taking harm.
And I think that one's a trauma veteran ability too, right?
Yes, it is.
I think people were pretty.
Causes the harm.
Technically, you can. I've had a villain who was along those lines before.
Deathwish. There's an ability where you delight in your teammates' harm. That's all right.
Yes. I'll go ahead and leave my beetle behind so I can pilot some silly airship for Grigsby to make his long life dream happen.
Look.
Yeah. Flying an airship over a fire swamp is risky. There's a common creature that lives in there called a manticore, and they are aggressive mutagen-based creatures that will mutate a way to hunt prey if they can't reach it. So if manticores see you flying overhead, they will sprout wings or gain the ability to spit acid long distances, or in some other way find a way to attack you. So a stealthier approach is usually advised in fire swamps, but you can try it.
Telling me is I need to have Grigsby on the end of a very long rope so they can reach him.
That would work technically.
Grigsby would be at the very top with a giant telescope.
You can't see nothing anyway.
got great eyes. His eyes have saved us more than once.
He's the one with the survey ability.
Can't deny it. The mechanics support my fiction, baby.
All right.
So
So,
would it be better knowing that to change our plan and go via the road instead?
Yeah, and if you're taking the road, it might also be wise to not bring the car for the same reason.
Right.
Yeah,
The swamp is not entirely tamed, and these elite soldiers that you're going to recruit, the Canaries, patrol the road. So they try to keep it relatively clear, but there are still dangers out there in the swamp.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
we can take the road, but Grigsby will let you know that he wanted to take the air for sure.
Right. Well, whatever problems we run into, you can tell us that you told us so.
All right. So Grigsby, are you taking your car, or are you gonna take a horse, or what?
Taking a horse, complaining all the way.
Got it.
All right.
All right. And so you head out to the fire swamp, and the road is still there. And all along the road, you see the telegraph lines, and you haven't seen a break yet. So it must be further into the swamp, which is unusual. Normally, the Canaries would just come out and fix it. So you're already getting the feeling that something is wrong.
Something's wrong. Is this a paved road, a stone road, just a dirt road?
Stone.
Stone. Okay. And it's
How
on a
hot
raised,
is it?
raised
hot?
pathway through the swamp?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's humid but not blazing hot. You're near the coast. This is like a delta swamp.
Okay.
And so as you head along the road, you see one of the famous flame geysers of the fire swamp off to the side, just a brief bubbling, and then whoosh, a jet of flame as mutagen burns off in a spout. And it's a not too unusual sight, but for some of you, this might be the first time you've seen one in person.
Well, I'm going to say that I've been through these kinds of swamps before, and this is pretty normal for me, which means I'm using my traditional ability to get myself a point of morale.
Okie doke.
Right.
And
I'm going to say that Gus, my horse, has been through this kind of thing before, so it doesn't spook him at all.
And as you continue on, you hear off to the side of the road, you hear hooting in the trees, and with a little. I'm going to say Grigsby is probably the one who spots it with his survey. You see skunk apes swinging through the trees. These are a creature that tends to live in swamps, and they use an amalgam called fowl of the bog, which is an incredibly stinky liquid. So stinky that it is just repulsive, and you'd have to make a resolved resist to even get close to them. But fortunately, they don't seem to be paying you any mind, just swinging through the trees.
Well, at the moment, we don't have any reason to get close to them.
Yeah, and you can just faintly smell from here the foul of the bog. Yep.
Grigsby's got a big umbrella because he hates the sunshine and humidity, and he just eyes the monkeys and goes, "Stupid stink monkeys." He shakes his fist. Wait, this question though, I'm not affected by senses, so am I
Nope.
affected?
You're immune.
Yeah, you
Golem's
still
special
call them
ability
smelly.
gives you a lot of immunities. Well, he still has memories from when he's maybe smelled that element before. And so you continue along.
Once he sold those memories.
And you almost walk right past, and then you hear a voice coming from the right side of the path. Somebody quietly croaks out, "Help!" Help!
Well, what do we see in that direction?
Trees.
Trees. Do we know of any monsters that particularly tend to try to entrap sentient prey by pretending to be in distress?
Yeah, like a dozen.
Are you an ally?
Help!
All right.
Are you an ally?
Grigsby, do you see anything? You've got really good eyes.
Yeah.
So you want to try and survey it?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'll
I'd say
do
that's
that.
probably a fortune roll.
Okay.
Yep.
36. Straight up. 5.
5. All right. And so you hop off your horse and climb up a nearby tree to get a perch. And you see that leaning up against a tree is a hobgoblin who has a yellow feather sticking out of his hat, the distinctive mark of the Canaries. And he's leaning up against the tree, and there's blood all over his shirt. And he's just like huddled in on himself, going, help!
Oof. Can I try to get him down from there, I guess? Or see?
Well, he's out behind the trees ahead of you.
Okay.
So yeah, you could see down to him. And the other thing you see is that all around him are patches of black grass, which is a plant that pulls up Assassin's Bane out of the water. And if you step on it and break the grass, it will release a puff of Assassin's Bane, which is a potent acid. So you might want to warn the party to be careful if they're going to approach him.
Do you see a root around the grass, Grigsby?
Not an obvious one.
No. Okay.
Okay, so yelling down,
Mhm.
saying, "There's a guy up there. He looks like someone took a couple of bites out of him. There's some purple, smelly, grassy thingies. They don't look too friendly, all on the ground."
All right. Well, Irma, would it make sense for you to fly over the grass while we cover you?
I can.
All right. I think that's a reasonable plan.
All right. So Irma, you're just gonna pop over, and since you've got a beetle that can fly, I don't think there's a need for an action roll.
Yep. Pop
All right.
on over.
And you fly over, and the rest of you are just covering her.
Yeah. So we're positioning ourselves to be able to. So we'll move out off of the road, but not try to cross the grass. Just keep an eye on the situation, be aware, and cover in case anything like a manticore were to decide that beetle sounds yummy.
Yes.
Yeah, I would probably stay up on the tree and just watch as Irma.
Okay. All right. So let's say me and Elise.
All right. Irma, you land, and he looks up at you, and he says, "Help!"
Yeah, you keep saying that, buddy. Do you not see me standing here?
And he reaches out a hand towards you and says, "Help!"
So needy. Just pull out an elixir and slap him with it. I'm not
just
even.
pour it on.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna touch him. It's just like whatever. You're being needy. Just
The elixir runs down his chest and doesn't heal his wounds, which is strange because elixir reacts to pain by replacing damaged flesh, but he
I
doesn't
start
seem like he's in pain.
Anyway, I start blasting.
All right, you blast the poor injured canary in the face.
Yes, I do.
And his body is torn, but the water in his body forms together into like a spear and jets out towards you. You're just gonna fly away? All right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a barrel roll if you're trying to fly out of danger.
I'm not technically flying.
Oh yeah, if you want to give your beetle an order to fly for you, that would be hunt.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Do you want me to
Not
set
any
you
of
up
that
by
either.
going, look out?
I would actually say it's more of a finesse because I'm trying to dodge and not get stuck in other trees while I'm being shot at.
Since you noticed the problem, I'll say that sure, finesse is fine. But since you're going slower, it'll be a risky position instead of controlled,
That's okay.
and that's risky normal.
A 4.
Okay, so you get away, but the water does manage to stab your beetle, and it's going to wound your beetle.
Oh.
Oh no. So horrible.
Do you want to resist that?
No.
Okay. All right. You return to the road.
Beetle did drop Irma in the swamp.
No, it's capable of still flying.
Okay.
And so it gets you back over the black grass and back towards the road. And the water from the body slithers out through the black grass towards the party, but it's moving slowly, and it's not going directly towards you. It's just sort of winding. And so you get the impression it's probably a water beast, which is a creature who has terminal cocytus infection. And so their body is in a coma, but they can still, but their ability to control water is so enhanced that they can reach out over long distances.
They're asleep.
So that would mean that the hobgoblin has been transformed into this kind of creature, or?
Well, if it was, then Irma shooting it should have put an end to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was probably just being controlled by the water in its body.
Okay. So that looks kind of like Elise's arms.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
And Irma's abilities as well, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of cocytus
Irma
users in the
just
party.
keeps hers in the pot most often.
All right, so we don't feel like we're in any danger of this thing catching us if we just move away from it.
Yeah. They can only sense you through tremors, and you guys are far enough away that it's moving blind.
All right.
Elise is gonna shudder because well, that is the inevitable fate of anyone who uses cocytus enough. It every time you use it, it slowly moves up your nerves towards your brain until that happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely.
Oh.
Don't worry, guys. I won't turn into a zombie and eat your brains.
I don't have a problem.
And all right, are you gonna continue towards the town?
I think that would be the thing to do.
All right. And so you continue along, and you get to a section where the road is washed out. There's just the river just runs right through, and this is also where the telegram poles are down. 2 poles have been torn down and washed away, and so the wire doesn't run through here anymore.
Mm-hmm. What do we see on the other side of the river?
The rest of the road, and then in the distance you can already see the town.
Okay, so it's a few miles away.
Yeah.
Okay. How wide is the river?
Not too wide. I would say in game terms it's probably extreme range. So like greater effect to cross it in one go.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we should carefully, if we're going to cross this, we should be fairly careful about how we do that. One option would be to have Irma and her wounded beetle try to ferry us over. But, of course, the beetle is wounded, so that might not work as well as it normally.
Fine. I threw some elixir on it, maybe some, cork. It's a little gum paste. It's fine. Promise.
All right. So one option would be to try to ford this river. How deep is it? How free flowing is it?
It's pretty shallow. So you think you can walk the whole way across. It's moving pretty fast. but not so fast that you expect it to take you off your feet.
Right. Or horses should be able to take it pretty easy. If a person can walk relatively easy, then a horse should have no trouble with it.
Yep.
The question is whether there's anything nasty in that water.
Right, and it is dark, swampy water that's hard to see through.
Yep.
I think Grigsby is going to take a moment and he's going to go to the back and rifle through a giant like suitcase, but it's like really a big package of things he found. And it's called like Special Monster Hunter Kit. And he's going to smile and be like, and just sort of like scroll like and toss things back until he finds, I guess he's going to take a bear trap. That seems useful right now.
Okay.
Irma is just glaring at him, wondering if Grigsby got that out of her stuff.
Like, don't worry, I'll put it back, promise. But I also have 3 points in Dabble, and I haven't been taking like the items for the playbooks yet.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd mess with that today and pick out a bear trap.
If I find you put it away without greasing it after getting it damp and it rusts, so help me, I will use you to sand it down.
Can I take a dabble roll, like a flashback dabble roll, to see if I know how to trap these cocytus water zombie spirit things?
Yeah, so you never need to roll to know anything that's in the ecology document in Deathwish. It's all stuff that they teach you in school.
Cool.
And so yeah, you know that their real body is helpless and in a coma, and that they have to have a continuous connection of water from the body to whatever they're interacting with. So usually you can trace that water back if you wanted to try and hunt one. Also, they can't feed themselves except by draining the blood of the living. So they will just starve to death on their own if nobody feeds them.
Got it. So Grigsby also digs out a pith hat and like a big mustache while he's got like the bear trap now, and he's time for the most dangerous game.
And so I don't think we feel any particular need to feed these creatures, or obligation to do so. I'm wondering if we should avoid the problem entirely by trying to use Irma's beetle to get over. That would mean leaving the horses behind. Maybe we could leave the extra stuff with Elise, if that made sense.
Sure.
So they don't wander off or get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Elise isn't coming with us?
Well, it would be, the thing about bringing horses is if you leave them behind, then that becomes a problem. I would love to have Elise come with us, but then our horses are just sitting there on the other side of the river. The other thing we could do is to just, so actually, do we think our horses would just find their way back to town if we shoot them back?
Yeah, they're fast runners, assuming they don't run into any big monsters or anything. Like, I'm not going to make a fortune roll for it. I think they'll probably be fine.
All right.
Jack, you just said shoot them or shoo them.
Shoo the horse.
Shoo.
Shoo.
Darn it, I shouldn't have asked.
No,
I get an itch when you get to this age, okay? It's
Save the animals. Hug the trees. Oh, Mayor Tom.
I like my horse.
All right.
So why don't we
you
do
gotta
that? How about we shoo the horses back to town. I think Gus is smart enough to do that and lead the other animals with him. Use the beetle to get over the river and walk the rest of the way.
Sounds like a plan. So for the beetle flying over, I don't think we need a roll for that. But I would like to know in which order you guys go over.
I think that would be up to Irma since it's her beetle.
Jack first,
Okay.
then Elise,
Okay.
then me.
Okay.
man.
And so
And
when
Grigsby.
Grigsby is all
Jesus.
alone on the shore,
Great.
and the entire rest of the party is on the
Oh.
far side of the river, the
Grigsby Schwarzenegger episode is gonna happen.
skunk apes from earlier descend from the trees and pounce on him.
Oh
At least
gosh.
you don't have to worry
It's
about the
funny.
smell. So I have my my pistol out. You said it's extreme range, but I do have that ability. It gives me extra range with a pistol.
Yep.
If I think that Grigsby is at any actual risk, I know that he's invulnerable to smell things. But if he's at risk of other kinds of attack, I will start shooting at the apes, trying to avoid hitting Grigsby.
That's probably why he didn't smell them coming.
Yeah,
Makes
he is the
sense.
only one who wouldn't smell them coming.
Notice
Yeah,
that,
that tracks. That tracks.
And
But-
so they are carnivorous, but they can't eat trees. So you
Yeah.
think they might be confusing you for a human.
Hmm.
Can we say that like Irma's like halfway across or something?
You could turn back and start flying the other way.
Why do I always have to go back for the tree? Uh,
Save the earth. Oh, Mayor
I'm
Tom.
saving the earth one goddamn tree at a time.
Getting
It's the same damn tree.
getting Jack in the air could take away his range penalty if you got him halfway over the river.
Yeah. Jack,
All right.
go ahead.
I will.
All right.
Probably a little better for you.
So do we fly on top of the beetle? Does it grab us and we fly under it? How does that work?
I've been thinking on top, but
Okay.
under works too.
What does Irma think, actually?
Yeah.
Her beetle.
Usually my pot's strapped up on top, so unless you can sit in it, maybe better for you to be on the bottom.
Okay, so I'll say that the beetle has a hold in my coat and clothes.
Yeah, you got some nice padded shoulders in that leather jacket of yours,
Yep,
and it just grabs.
Hopefully, because that kind of beetle has scything threat 2 talons. So
Oh, great.
So what?
Well, we've worked out a method for this.
yes.
Okay. In fact, if we had to modify the clothing to allow the beetle to get a good grip, sort of like a falconer's
Yeah.
glove, we can say that maybe we've done that.
Mhm.
All right, so I am dangling under the beetle, getting halfway across the river and ready to shoot some skunk apes if necessary.
Yep.
While that happens, what are they doing at Grigsby?
They're circling him and like making like lunge attacks at whenever they're behind him, but as he turns around they retreat. So they're clearly sizing him up.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that I would like to stay in the air assuming the beetle will cooperate with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try a couple of warning shots.
Okay, so you're trying to scare him away?
Yep.
Okay. Emote could be effective for that, and so could draw.
Given that I have 0 dice in emote and 3 dice in draw, if I can use draw, I would prefer to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Controlled since I'm up in the air, or is it risky
Yeah.
because it's risky to Grigsby?
Controlled.
Okay. So 3 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Well, there you go. Bang, 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 and the apes startle and scamper up into the trees.
Okay, we still only have 1 beetle and 2 of me and Grigsby.
Grigsby, think really hard of a life raft right about now.
I can transform myself. Yeah, I can do that. That's something I can do. I'm a golem.
That is the thing, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
course, we would potentially be worried about those water creatures also.
Yeah, and Jack can just land again, and then you could get ferried across.
You could become something small that Jack can hold. Or does
Yeah.
it also transfer weight when he transforms like that?
Yeah, he still has to carry the wood that he would use to make his body again.
He's the same mass.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Leave a
so
bunch of wood
we
behind and then go get more wood on the other side.
true. You could chop down a tree over there, give him a whole new body. But I think it's probably easier to just put Jack down. The beetle flies over, picks up Grigsby, and lands him there too. So the whole party has crossed the river.
Assuming the apes are not smart enough to take advantage of that window of opportunity.
No. They're terrified. They're long gone.
Then they're gone. So I'm gonna ask the beetle to land me and then go pick up Grigsby.
Yep. And Grigsby is lifted and carried across.
Irma inspects him for slivers.
Uh,
Why is it always you have to be the one in trouble? Huh?
I'm the bait. And the
Yes,
face.
you
At least they didn't get any stink on Grigsby, because then he wouldn't smell it. But
yeah. Luckily, he is not stunk up.
that's good. All right, we are gonna walk our way to the town as best we can.
All right. And you walk closer to town, and when you get there, you see 2 hobgoblins and several low goblins are around the gate. And when you get close, one of the hobgoblins says, "Stop where you are!"
We stop where we are.
And he says, "Are you alive?"
Are you an ally?
We are indeed alive.
Jump up in the air.
I'll jump
Does
up
he
in the air.
realize how old I am?
And he watches you jump up in the air, and he's like, "All right." And Elise does it too. And they're like, "Yeah, all right. Well, if you're alive, you probably wouldn't be traveling with any of those water monsters. So, yeah, all right. Come on in, all of you."
We're friends from the town, and I'm sorry, I don't actually remember the name of the town.
You never named your home. Yeah, if you guys want to come up with one, now's as good a time as any.
Episode 5, where we name our home.
Just before the campaign ends. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we could always call it something boring like Beetletown,
Beetleburg.
Beetlejuice.
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 No, you didn't. No.
All right, so we're friends from Beetlejuice. Come to see if you need any help from us.
We do. We desperately need help.
Well, we'll see what we can do, friend.
And he waves you in through the gate. And you see that a bunch of low goblins come up and scurry up. And just for clarity for the audience, I'm going to go a little into goblin biology. So
Documentary in the world of Deathwish right now.
Goblins are born as low goblins, which are a lot like human children. The only thing is that they stop growing around like 10 or 12 years old, and that's as big as they ever get, as many of them ever get in their lifetime. And those are called low goblins. But they have mutagen in their veins, and their unique cultural mutation that they inherit is that when they arise in social status, their bodies mutate and develop not only a special power like most mutations, but they also physically grow bigger and stronger, and that's how they become a hobgoblin, which are human-sized threat 2 for the players, and then they have a mutation of their own. And unlike other creatures, they can mutate multiple times. So as their social status continues to rise, they can become goblin nobles and even a goblin king, which has many powerful mutations and is bigger and stronger than a human. And so many low goblins come out and they're like, "Oh, we're saved! Yay!" And in the distance, you see a goblin noble who you assume is their chief or leader.
So it's low goblin, hobgoblin, goblin noble,
goblin. Yes, and goblin kings are very rare. They're usually like the leader of a whole front if they happen. And so, excuse me, I've lost my note on what her name is. Here we go. And so you approach, and she says, "Hello, I'm Aubrey Folkhammer, and I'm the mayor of this town."
It's very good to meet you. My name is Jack, and I'll introduce my companions.
And she reaches out and shakes each of your hands and says, so you're from Beetlejuice.
Yes.
You've, I suppose that means one of the canaries got out and told you about our terrible danger that we're in, and you've come to honor our alliance.
Well, we've come to help. The indication that we had that there might be a problem was because the telegraph lines had gone down. So no one has managed to get to us to let us know what's going on, what has happened.
All the canaries are dead and out of the cage. Proverbial or not.
She looks devastated. She's like, "Oh, I had hoped. So my son isn't with you?"
I'm sorry to say that he is not.
Oh.
I'm not the best when it comes to empathy.
Yeah.
On the way, we did encounter the corpse of a hobgoblin. I don't know whether that might have been your son or not.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the state we're in. Our town is under siege by an acolyte, and we sent out the canaries to try to get help, and I guess they didn't make it.
Apparently not. The hobgoblin did have a yellow feather.
Yes, that would have been one of the canaries then. Did it have 4 arms?
It kind of looked like this. Help me.
Oh God.
Help me. Like blood like oozing out kind of over. I tried saving it, but it was one of those sea monsters, and she'll go ahead and like do the little arms and whatnot out of her pot, and it kind of like started crawling towards us.
Oh. Well, I suppose it's fortunate that wasn't Marcus. He has 4 arms.
We did not see
See?
that.
So perhaps he's still out there fighting, or but I can't imagine he would have left a canary behind, so most likely he's dead too.
Well, perhaps we can hope.
Well, come in, and let me. Do you have any wounds or anything? We can treat them. Do our best to support you. We have some time yet. The acolyte only attacks at night.
Ian, could you tell us what an acolyte is exactly?
Yes. Let me dig up the ecology entry.
Totally imagine Dot from Animaniacs every time Irma was like, nah.
So the acolyte is the ultimate life form of the Awizotl. So I'm gonna explain that first. So Awizotla are predatory large cats that have a bond with Cocytus that let them make a tail out of water, and a mutation that lets them breathe underwater. So they're very effective water predators. And when the Cocytus spreads to their brain, as it normally does for other species, it tends to their head detaches, so it requires less blood, and that's known as a kelpie or water horse. And they're even stronger at manipulating water, and they tend to work together with the Awizotla to lure prey in and eat them. But in rare cases, if they've got a lucky version of the mutation, then instead of becoming a Kelpie, they become an Acolyte, also known as an underwater panther. And Acolytes still have the not only full control of their body, but when they use the water, they can and touch other creatures, they can control those creatures' bodies as well. And so they can animate the bodies of dead creatures, or even take over a living creature if they focus on it.
How many can they control at a time?
A lot. It varies by their skill level, but multiple scale worth of creatures at once.
Lovely.
Yeah. Mass is a factor there because they're just controlling the water in the body, so it's like one big creature, multiple little ones.
Okay. And so if they're controlling a living creature, they're just controlling the water in that creature.
Right.
Huh.
Yep. And so they explain that the Acolyte most likely used its water control powers to wash out the road and cut off their communication, and that each night it's been kidnapping goblins out of the town, and they caught on, and they've been patrolling the walls at night, and so now it's been sending greater and greater waves of creatures. Literal waves of water and other attacks to try and break into the town and kill everyone inside.
So, what do you guys drink?
Water?
Why? I'm just inviting them in.
As a Kukaitis user, I would
Beer,
hope you know
wine, milk.
that the connection of water has to be continuous from the Kukaitis all the way to the thing it's controlling. If that connection is cut for even a moment, then it loses control. So a cup of water is perfectly safe.
What about
just
your
like
well?
your own cauldron is perfectly safe.
Don't
Our
talk about
well
cauldron.
our well might not be safe. We've been taking pains to filter all the water that comes out of that just in case, but so far there haven't been any signs of contaminants.
So these attacks come at night?
Yeah. We think it's because the Acolyte wants to disguise the trail of water that connects the bodies, so we can't attack it, because the real body is at its most vulnerable while it's controlling its forces on the front line.
Mm-hmm. So you don't know whether it has a base or a cave or someplace that it's holed up in.
Yeah. Its range isn't infinite, so it's surely somewhere out in the swamp, but we don't know where.
And would you expect the range to be on the order of a mile, 100 yards, 10 miles?
Probably most of the swamp. We know that when we've sent scouts out in any direction, we've either run into Acolytes or sorry, not Acolytes, Awizotla, or other creatures controlled by the water of the Acolyte.
And you just sent scouts out on the ground?
Yes. Yeah. We don't own any airships because flying airships over fire swamps is considered unwise.
Not the safest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it would not be worth the risk to use Irma's beetle to reconnoiter somewhat. Maybe not flying all over the swamp, but at least go up and do a quick circuit around here, especially perhaps around the time that we would expect the attack to come. Would we, in order to follow the beast, the track back to the enemy, we would see these lines of water force?
Yeah, if it wasn't night.
Right. Grigsby, how are your eyes at night?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah. Got that.
Are you sure?
Are there alchemical ways to create that we might have available to us to create light or flares or something along those lines?
The contact of any northern and southern element results in a flash of light. That's why Grigsby glows, for example, is the Philosopher's Stone in his body is reacting with the miasma in the air, and it's slowly dissolving and letting off light. And so Philosopher's Stone, usually of the non-sentient variety, is often used as light sources, like lamps. And so you could scatter that out. And then there's always fire.
Would those would that alchemical light be hard for the creature to extinguish the way it could with just fire? Because I imagine if we just put torches out there, the first thing it would do would be to splash some water on the torches and put them out.
Yeah, the Philosopher's Stone, it would not be able to easily destroy. It would have to like bury it to stop the light.
So you mean to tell me the Grigsby is a giant freaking glow stick that we haven't taken advantage of yet?
I'm like nodding and just getting brighter and dimmer, like yeah.
So
sparkle.
I'm just trying to think of a plan. We need to track this thing down to where it is and not just absorb its attacks at the town. Because whatever we destroy of its creatures, tell me if I'm wrong about this, whatever we destroy of its creatures one night, it can just replace by taking over other creatures out in the swamp.
Yeah, as long as there's more creatures for it to take over, it will be able to just keep replenishing its forces.
Right, and a swamp is full of critters of various kinds, so...
I mean, I do have an idea, but it requires blowing up the water source here in the town. But if we were to use one night for bait, we can essentially use red oil and bait whatever body of water that they will have to use within the city. And all we do is light that on fire, and that will go through all the way to the actual source because it will all be connected at that point.
Yeah, any contaminant you put in the water will connect all the way back to the real body, but it might be diluted over a lot of swamp water.
We'll start a new Crawdad festival with the hobgoblins resulting. That'd be a holiday.
All right, well, I think now's a good time for our first break. So we'll have 5 minutes to get water and also to think about what to do next. And I'd say you'll each have time for 2 fortune rolls before night comes to do whatever kind of preparations you want to make.
Okay.
Cool.
Good.